Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 25th edition of Coffee with Ashish. So, this is a very special moment for all of us. In a matter of few weeks, we have been able to get the best people in the travel, tourism, hospitality, and aviation sector, in India. And, we consider ourselves very fortunate to have such an august gathering with us. And who better than the Silver Jubilee edition on Coffee with Ashish to have than Mr. Madhav Oza ji from Blue Star Travel Agency. Namaste, Madhav ji. Before we get into conversation with him, I just want to sort of relook at what we have been up to in the last 24 sessions. We have talked about and we have had a chat with some of the largest OTAs in the country. We have looked at hotel chains, we've looked at B2B aggregators, we've looked at alternate accommodation, we've looked at meta search, we've looked at people doing a lot of work around marketplace and analytics. So all over the place in the entire travel industry, we have been getting speakers from. But I always believe the true soul of the travel industry is the homegrown travel agents who have started from the scratch and who have actually made their way to the top with sheer hard work and grit, who have not really relied on the so-called venture capital game where you sort of raise money, exit. But there are some very few gritty entrepreneurs in this country who have, from the scratch, risen from the basics and just done sheer hard work and have achieved so much. And our guest today is one of them. But on a lighter moment, you might recollect that before the advent of OTAs, or when these companies who raised significant venture capital, they came into being, the traditional travel agent role has also evolved a lot, and the expectations and the nuances of dealing with a travel agent have also changed over the years. And as always, I have a small cartoon to capture this emotion. And if you can see, many times we are all aware of the leftmost scenario where you have to do multiple interactions with a travel agent before you actually go. So here the travel agent is basically saying you can pay later on because I know you're gonna again come back and meet me. And in the middle, you see the expectations of customers where they have very tight budget, but their ambitions are to go to the Alps and the mountains. And here you see what the travel agent is recommending them. And on the extreme right is something which is a more recent phenomenon where the travel agents who provide a lot of in-person service to the customer, and ultimately, after learning all the tricks of the trade, the customer basically wants to go online and buy the cheapest product, and the knowledge is provided by the traditional offline travel agent. So I think that's the story of the day. But on a more serious note, today's session, we're going to focus more on one of those inspiring homegrown travel agencies, Blue Star Travel, which Madhav Oza ji started along with Nachiketa Oza in Mumbai in 1987. In fact, I was born in 87, so it's almost, it's, I can imagine how much over the last 3 decades, what kind of hard work and immense perseverance must have been put in by the promoters to take the company to where it is now. Now the company has a network of over 35,000 travel agents in the country, many of whom are there in the call today with us. The company has also received over 250 awards from various airlines as the top performing agents. That's something. And right from booking, doing the bookings over telex, probably in the 80s and 90s, to a phone call, to an email, and now using mobile app and new age technologies, the company has actually seen the spread of time. And they pay a lot of focus on people, and that I can sort of share with you over my interactions with Bhavesh and the other team members. It's a very committed organization and a very aggressive organization, so I can really see why it is where it is now. And what to say about the founder, Mr. Madhav Oza ji. He's a true visionary, true hard worker who has from the scratch built this massive company now over 3 decades. And the company now operates into various tourism verticals. He himself is a keen, avid reader and has interest in finance, technology, and even spiritual philosophy. And he's been a regular speaker on various TV channels and editorials, be it CNBC or NDTV, for his views on travel industry and related subjects. He has also been a TAFI National Committee member for more than 6 years during its formative years in the late 90s, and has been the current chairman of TAFI Taxation Committee since 2012. And this is the very interesting part about him, that during the lockdown, he has achieved a target of walking 20 kilometers per day and has logged over 1500 kilometers in the past 75 days. So that's something very interesting. And his favorite book happens to be Bhagavad Gita, and he loves Upanishads, and he also conducts a lot of classes for people on these topics, on spiritual beliefs in the lockdown period. And on a more personal front, he's an avid golf player. And ever since the golf course has opened up since June 1, he's been back on the course. So he's like a true golfer, back on the green. So with this, a very warm welcome to you, Madhavji, on our show. And I'm going to hand it over to Ashish to have a conversation with you while I sit back and enjoy my coffee.
Thank you. Thank you, dear.
Madhav, how's your coffee? Filter, is it?
Yes. Thank you very much. It's very nice. Excellent.
Oh, great. I mean, I don't want to use the cliche. Welcome. And you are a silver jubilee guest, but indeed you are today. It's the 25th episode. But what I find fascinating, and Madhav, I must tell you, is the journey, what Karthik narrated. But what I visualized that journey from 1987. And that's just at the peak of time when commission cuts in the airline business came into play. The 9% got reduced to 5, 5 to 3, and to 0. And that's the time when it was predominantly air component travel agency distribution days. Everyone was feeling the pinch. Credits, of course, like a little cartoon Karthik showed, was rampage. People would give out credit to their customers, and they were almost operating like banks to customers, be it corporate or otherwise. And I know personally of large entrepreneurs who started thinking at those times how to exit the travel industry. Later, they went on to exit the travel and tourism. Cyrus Gazdar, one in travel being one of them, who got Carlson Wagonly in, and Inder Sharma himself from Sita's moved out to Kony and so on. But here was Madhav Oza. He actually thought he will set up an enterprise at that stage. Madhav, why did you have to do it when everybody was exiting? And, can you define the journey?
Yeah, first of all, let me thank Ashish to you. Thanks to you for inviting me on your show, Coffee with Ashish. I have been following the shows and noticed you have invited the top personalities in the show. Sincerely wish to thank you for giving me the opportunity to join the select band. Wish to thank Karthik Sharma and our team, Bhavesh, Suprab, Mitesh, Jay and Ganesh, for organizing the show. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Now coming to your first question, the journey. We in fact started the journey in 1987, myself and my brother Nachiketa Oza. He is more known as Raju Bhai in the market. And we started our agency, and we first branched out into Ahmedabad in 1990. And then 1992, in those days, getting ITA was a very difficult task. And we became ITA in 1992, we were recognized. And then we saw that the consolidator market was having a lot of space to get into. The wholesale market was easily penetrable. So we decided to get into that market, and we got our first branch office opened in 1998 in Andheri. I believe that was the first branch for any intercity wholesaler. And we started developing that branch, and then so on and so forth. We went in different branches. Later on, we realized that in around 2000 that the portal technology is very important, and we ventured into it, but with few attempts we failed. That was around 2000, 2005, 2008. We couldn't succeed in the portal technology. But then later on, our next gen, that is Bhavesh Oza and Suprab Oza, joined us somewhere in 2009 and 10. And Bhavesh being an engineering background and Suprab being a commercial background, they both decided to relaunch the online portal. And we successfully launched our portal in 2012 and 13. Going back to the 80s, as Karthik very clearly mentioned, that those days we used to do bookings on telex. I would not like to repeat that. Telex and telephone were the instruments we used to do the bookings. Then later on came in the Indian Airlines dump sets for making the bookings, where we used to use the Sita lines.
Correct.
If you recall the olden days.
Yes,
This is
yes.
the journey we were going ahead with. Then then the GDS were launched in the country in 1993-94.
Correct.
The Amadeus, the GAL, and the Sabres were launched, and that made the industry more easy. But at the same time, the commissions were going down, as you rightly mentioned, Ashish. From 9% what we were being paid by the airlines, the commission started reducing to 7, 5, 3, 1, and by 2008, almost all the airlines came to zero commission. Then the question was that how do we survive? So consolidators then in that case, how we call ourselves, consolidators, or in other trades, people call them as wholesalers. We started signing special productivity linked bonus targets with the airlines. So that was our survival. We would sign PLB targets, and if we achieve the target, we would be paid monies. So we started doing that. The other side, I was handling a lot of corporates also, but I found in the corporates, the credit became a major issue. And unfortunately, during those days, there were many agents who were manipulative, and they used to extend more credit rather than giving services. And on the basis of credit, they would win the account, as Karthik put the carton, that yeah, I will extend the credit. So we decided that we will not do this. We will give this service, we will give discount, we will not provide credit. That was our slogan, basically, that we will not do that. And that's how we started following that line, and we got good amount of corporates, as well as at the same time we started venturing into the sub-agent market. Then the question, as you are asking, that what made me confident that this business will succeed? If you recall, in 1980s and 90s, maximum airlines were transiting Mumbai. If you see a Lufthansa, it would fly from Singapore to Bombay and Bombay to Frankfurt.
Correct.
If
Correct.
you Swissair, it would fly from Hong Kong to Bombay and Bombay to Zurich.
Even SAS was flying Bangkok, Delhi,
Exactly.
and to Copenhagen.
Yeah, and you would fly from Hong Kong to Bangkok and Bangkok to Bombay and Bombay to Dubai.
Yeah.
Means that was very clear that we didn't have the capacity to fill the aircraft.
Right.
In early 90s, many airlines started doing terminating flights to India. So that gave us a moral boost that definitely the traffic is increasing from India. Otherwise, they won't start terminating flights. So Lufthansa, British Airways, everybody started terminating flights, and they had very less frequencies, 3 flights a week, 4 flights a week. They started daily flights. So that gave us a confidence boost that this business is here to stay and survive. And at the same time, the government was pushing the economy and it was improving. So we started pushing this, and we started pushing the sub-agent market, and we started pushing at the same time the corporate market. On the corporate market, our forte was services. In fact, I recall during those days, I would carry the ABC and APT and reach the client's office. And clients were very happy that these agents are so good. They come here, they come and talk to us on our table itself. I would reach the client's home also at maybe in the evening time when everybody is at home. It's a leisure moment. So that kind of services we are giving. I recall an interesting incident of the type of services those days we were rendering. We had managed, you believe, 3 visas for one client in a day.
Amazing.
The client wanted to go to Europe. We did the UK visa. In those days, UK was an interview. They would start in the morning at 7 o'clock. So I sent the client for the interview. Within an hour, he got the UK visa. By the time he came out, 8:30, we rushed the passport to the Swiss consulate. In those days, Swiss consulate would give the visa in 1 hour. So at 9 o'clock, we pushed in the Swiss visa. We got it by 10. At 10:30, Swiss was at Churchgate, and Netherlands also was at Churchgate. So we put the Benelux visa. Those days we would call it a Benelux visa. We pushed it, and evening 4 o'clock we had the visa on. So that kind of services we were providing, and that's how we could win the corporate loyalties. At the same time, we were servicing the sub-agents at a very small margin, but our basic idea was to retain them because the business was growing and we were signing PLB targets. So we wanted to achieve the targets. Only doing the corporate, it was not possible to achieve the targets. So what we were doing is catering to the sub-agent, and we did a breakthrough in the sub-agent market by catering to them 24/7, which was a very rare phenomenon in the country. We would operate the whole night. Our staff would give services the whole night, and that helped a lot. And doing this thing, we got the advantage of building a good network of sub-agents. And I'm very proud to say that because of all these things, in so many last 35 years, we have done a business of over 10 million transactions and a gross transaction value of over 10,000 crore rupees. And as Karthik rightly mentioned, we could achieve more than 250 to 300 awards. And one thing is very important, that I was very tech savvy. So I used to always upgrade myself with the technology, and that helped me beat the Mumbai wholesaler kingpins in those days, because the previous wholesalers were getting old and they were not tech savvy. So that advantage I got. At the same time, the corporate, as you rightly mentioned, many of them were moving out. So we used to get some corporate accounts we used to easily manage, because the old gen of the corporate agents, they were losing hope because of the diminishing profits. There the rule of diminishing margins was applying. So they were not really interested in the business, and we got an entry into it. So that's how we could make it. And the most important of this, we had a very young and energetic team. And I'm proud to say that we have a excellent team today also, who would cater to the corporate and the sub-agent. And we are one of the agencies which has a very high ratio of women in our team. Today also we have more than 65% women working for our team. Here I would like to give a standing ovation to my team. Just excuse me, please.
We respect you.
Yeah, so this is what is in short my story. In fact, this story can go on for a very long time, and it has got so many examples, but we have very short time today, so I won't like to continue further. Ashish, you may carry on with your next.
Yeah, but Madhav, what is important is this history. In this history lies the future. Yeah. Because the experiences you build in, and you use the word, the other promoters were losing hope. And come COVID, that's actually the situation in the travel and tourism industry. So how do you look at it from a 360-degree point of view in a short, long, and medium term? Very quickly, for somebody who's building again.
Yeah. I am very confident that the B2B model is here to stay and will last longer than what many industry critics think. In short term, if I say the short term impact of the epidemic, it is staring at the travel trade and our principals. In fact, our principals are sending signals of weaknesses, which we all can see. Every day we are noticing a lot of refunds and monies are stuck, and nobody is really starting the airlines, and the governments also on the global level. I can see there is a lack of global leadership today. And due to that, the short-term impact will be very bad, what I can say right now, due to the COVID. And I hope this short-term will end soon. We had a very bad experience last year also with Jet Airways and Cox and Kings failing. So I have been telling my staff and my team that we should consider this short-term effect as a dream. See, if when you see a bad dream, after the dream gets over in the morning, when you wake up, you remember the dream for a few minutes or maybe for a half an hour, but you don't cry over that dream anymore. So I tell my team and my children also that you should consider this as a bad dream. So some people say, sir, but this dream looks to be too long. I said, okay, no problem. We may consider it as 2 years. Forget the dream. So see, somewhere you have to dissolve it, and it's globally happening. So in short term, I am not very positive, but I am only conveying to everybody, forget this is a bad dream, and don't cry over the bad dream.
Correct. Correct.
Now, if you consider the midterm and the long term, see, if you consider midterm and long term, Ashish, I have a very clear vision. Indian client needs handholding. Since this is a very highly regulated industry, as you can witness, now traveling beyond 2 kilometers also needs to be consulted. I'm joking. In Mumbai, if you want to travel more than 2 kilometers, they can impound your car also.
Sure.
Travel is traveling beyond 20,000 kilometers at a time. Many times you have to travel the whole world, around the world. So consulting will be needed. So what is my understanding is, considering the number of regulations, the advisories coming from the various states and the governments world over, the travel agent is here to stay. We are here to survive. We will be there. And if you consider the number of passengers traveling from India today, in the last year, it was 185 million passengers. And I would like to, it's a humorous thing, but I like to tell you this thing. The Indian passenger has got a habit to take the neck measurement of the travel agent, for the reason that he can hold the agent by neck. This will continue. So what I'm not saying that technology will not succeed. Technology with a face will definitely succeed. That will be always be the priority. So the brick and mortar and technology together will definitely be there, and they will perform better.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
if I may just add, I've always visualized it that there is going to be a hybrid model, and I like to define the hybrid model as follows very quickly. One is, I think there will be a very thin line between what you call today the B2C and B2B. Consumerism is affecting everyone. There is penetration happening in Ranchi to Bombay, right? And so therefore, I like to be visualizing a situation where you not only hold hand of the customer, but the customer actually behaves like a consumer, which he does on a B2C portal. So therefore, I could have a zoomed integrated, I could be potentially your customer or vice versa. I'm counseling you on the holiday while I'm talking to you on a Zoom. I also have all the digital contents flowing on the side of the screen, and I'm actually guiding you as to what to do while you're sitting in Pune and I'm sitting in Delhi to be able to do it.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm actually hand-holding you to take you on the screen to fulfill your transaction, right? And once not only have I fulfilled your transaction, but I am capturing all the possible data points even prior to your journey, which will actually throw up all the possible suggestions which are right for you. So therefore, the point and substance I'm making is that you're right in terms of technology, but I'm redefining the role of B2C and B2B in a very clear line as to consumerism affecting. So do you see that happening as far as technology and the rights go of a consumer?
I think you are trying to indicate that the B2C will finally take over the B2B market.
No, I'm saying that the way a B2C behaves and the way B2B behave will probably merge into one entity. It may still be B2C, but like a consumer, I would be expecting the same thing from you as I would be expecting when I make 20 searches, go through algorithms, go through data points and so on. That's exactly actually what I meant. A hybrid model.
I agree with you to a large extent. See what is happening if you consider the Indian market. Today, India has got around 400,000 travel agents in this country who are handling the market, because 185 million people traveling, and out of the 185 million passengers, more than 60% are not tech savvy, who need handholding, who are not aware about the rules, regulations to be followed for obtaining a visa or obtaining foreign exchange or obtaining or taking an insurance. And with the post-COVID, following up all the hygiene advisories, it won't be that easy. So what I believe, this 400,000 agents may tomorrow become 500,000 agents. They have a future. They will definitely still cater to the client. And we as a B2B will become close to B2C, because finally that is our extended arm, the B2B.
Right.
They are catering to the customer directly. So in fact, you are very right that when you say it's a hybrid model, finally we are directly or indirectly catering to the customer only. That
Right.
goes without saying. Yeah.
Yes, Madhav, that's exactly what I meant. So in one line, before we move further, what would be your message to your 37,000 or 35,000 agents across? What would you like to tell them?
We have in between 35 to 40,000 agents, as I told earlier also. I would tell them to keep themselves updated with the product knowledge. That's very, very, very important. And we are regularly conducting webinars on various products. Please do attend them, since today internet or WhatsApp university, as I call them, are loaded with a lot of information, and lot of information on that is a lot of false messages are there. So I would request all my agents, kindly keep yourself updated with regular training programs. What we are doing, keep reading the circulars properly. That will help you retain your customers. Secondly, I would request all agents to invest money in technically enabling their setup, develop a mid-office product which is capable of handling and tracking queries of customers quickly. It will help them to build database of their customers, which they can use for promotion of various schemes which are coming, updating the customers about the various advisories given by the various governments. So I would tell them during this lock unlock time, request all our agents to keep their PR channels buzzing. It will help them when the business reopens post-COVID. That is what I say. And here I would like to definitely say one more thing, that I would like to thank all my sub-agents present on this show for giving us all the business. Kindly keep giving us the business. Our support is there 24/7 to you all. Thank you very much, everyone.
I will support what you're saying, Madhav, for the simple reason I would like to see companies such as yourself, and why not Blue Star itself, take Prime Minister Modi's dream forward of Atmanirbhar Bharat and actually become global companies. Why can't I see Blue Star in Singapore and Hong Kong and Malaysia, exactly as I see in India? So therefore, how would you react? Do you see Indian companies going global in the travel space?
Ashish, thank you very much for asking this fantastic question. This has been a dream for myself and various entrepreneurs across the country. I would love to see Indian companies going global. The challenge with travel sector from Indian point of view is lack of visionary enterprise as compared to retail or IT sector. See, if you see the retail sector, I'm talking about retail sector in this country, and the IT sector, which you happen to be the co-chairman of FICCI for the IT sector also. So today, if you see retail and IT sector, the IT sector started its journey in 1970, and Indians are among the world leaders in both the sectors today. IT sectors, we can say confidently that we are world leaders. In travel trade, we saw few promoters in past 2 decades going global. Unfortunately, they turned out to be manipulators. It was a bad luck of our industry that we found manipulators there and those manipulators fell on their faces.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, our industry is concentrating on generating more business and not on quality of service. I have observed many agents selling at a loss to compete with others. I really fail to understand this game of valuation. It is a valuation game. Instead of building reserves, our travel community is bitterly fighting to gain more and more eyeballs or more and more valuation gain. And today, due to lack of vision on profiting, our industry is bitterly crying for help, and as they have landed in the big financial mess. In past 35 years, I have seen several airlines and travel agents in India going bankrupt. And my vision, that doesn't mean I am negative. My vision here is that the talented enterprise in the post-COVID period, our Indian generation, the new generation should pick up the ropes of the way the retail and the IT sector has grown. We will definitely see a correction happening because I believe and I'm sure, thank God, that the valuation bubble has finally burst.
Right.
This valuation bubble has really disturbed the travel industry so badly. I have seen the biggest of the OTAs just not making any profits at all, only going after the valuation.
Yes.
And I don't know what the future now holds for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
Madhav, you actually stolen a corner out of my heart, because for the last 4-5 years, I've been working personally a lot mentoring young travel technology startups. And the ambition of these travel technology startup is only, they want to build a quick valuation and an exit. The reason for coming into the business is in 3 years, they must sell out, right? So the first thing they come to me to approach, it says, sir, in 2 years, how do we sell ourselves out to make my trip? Will they buy us? No,
yeah.
The point here being, with COVID is in fact helping us, because with institutional funding drying up, I think companies will have to probably realize that they have to make money to stay in the business. If companies stay to make money in the business, then even startups, I think mentality of the startups will change, because I personally would like to see more startups, more entrepreneurs come in, more technology, but they should fit into the ecosystem. I like to see Blue Star and your team sitting together and say, look, we want to build a global organization, but we can't build it on our own. So here are 5 startups. Why can't we engage with them in some manner that each of them do something for us, which we ourselves would have spent many years doing it? And you build them into one consortium to draw actually strengths from each other. So I see that there is a huge potential for startups to actually fill the gaps in existing organizations to help them grow, and not purely build something to exit. How do you react to that?
I love your thought process. In fact, I was quite disturbed last couple of years seeing that people are just looking at valuation game and disturbing the whole travel trade. In fact, this industry is very promising. If you look at the numbers, if you see 72% of the Indian population is below 32 years of age today. That comes to almost 100 crore people, and the average age of Indians is 29. More than 400 million people are in the middle class, and they are all waiting to travel. If some visionary enterprise enters this business and really explores it properly rather than just going for the valuation game, it has a huge promise. And I will not be surprised if somebody can make in a big way, like the IT sector has done it, or like recently the retail sector is building up in this country. That is what I would love to see, and I am very hopeful, because see, Indians are the people who like to travel. If you recall the Malaysian airline crashes, sorry to mention them, post that the Malaysian managers were very worried that who will travel. The fact is that we were the highest traffic generator for them. India was the highest generator post the crashes. So India has got a massive potential. Today, World WTTC also mentions that India is the 3rd largest travel market in the world. So I believe the startups or the new enterprise, whoever is planning to enter, should come with a clean sheet on mind that he has to build a global organization, not a fake organization where he wants to exit within 3 years, 4 years, disturb the industry. As you saw the aviation industry in the past 20 years, so many people came and went only just to generate a valuation gain, and they exited. That is what I'm not now expecting in this industry. This industry should flourish. That is my expectation.
Right. So, Madhav, before I pass you lastly to Karthik to conclude, what would you like to be remembered as your legacy after I are gone, either from the trade or wherever we have to go?
My personal guidance to the budding entrepreneurs is that take the path of the capital market. Establish the image of a clean enterprise. Without support from capital market, the dream to be world recognized is not possible. Wish to give a simple comparison on market cap between travel and retail. Retail is very closely comparable to travel business, as you are aware. In retail, they are selling hundreds and thousands of FMCG products, but they are not producing it. Today, take a DMart or a Reliance Fresh, or for that matter, any retailer, they are just selling like a travel agent is selling. I would like to show a slide if time permits.
Yeah.
One slide.
Show it.
Yeah. See, this is what I wanted to show. If you look at market capitalization today in India, the travel tourism market capitalization is 16,000 crore rupees. That includes the companies listed on NASDAQ also. There are a couple of companies in India who are listed, working in India, but listed on NASDAQ. And a few companies listed in India. And if you wish, I will give you the breakup. The Indian companies are, the market capital is 1,600 crores, and the NASDAQ companies are close to 14,400 crores. So all put together 16,000 crore. And if you look at the market capitalization of the retail sector, which is close to our industry, same as good as we are, it is the listed companies, the capital market capital is 2,02,000 crore, and the unlisted is close to 3 lakh crores, which I have given a breakup there, Flipkart or the Amazon India or other small companies. So almost they are 5 lakh crore and we are at 16,000 crore. So I would request that you can remove the slide. Yeah, I would request that the new enterprise should take the capital market path, and our SEBI rules are very strict. Need not go to NASDAQ. Build up a proper balance sheet here in India. Go take the route of an MSME or SME exchange or the straight away NSE exchange. And I would really request all the entrepreneurs to go for ESOPs. Today, our industry doesn't offer any good ESOPs to the team. They don't value their teams. So I would like to see that, because this business is growing. It will keep growing. Today we are talking, travel industry in India is close to 9% GDP of the country. And see the market capitalization, only 1,600 crore. So it is quite, and if you look at the IT sector, it is 16 lakh crores, the listed companies.
Correct.
So we need a correction here. So I would request the new enterprise, don't get into the foolish game of valuation. The bubble is burst, which only leads to disaster. Just imagine the entire listed and non-listed travel companies today in India. If somebody walks in India with $2.5 billion, you can buy the complete listed and unlisted travel agencies in this country, only for $2.5 billion. And in a few months back, a Mindtree was bought by L&T for $2.5 billion.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, so I feel sad that our industry, we need a proper guidance, and people like you who are sitting on the FICCI board can do that to guide the entrepreneurs properly to take the proper route. Here, I would like to add my spiritual thought, if you permit me 1 minute.
Yes, please.
In the past few days, people were discussing a lot about depression. In last few months, people have been discussing a lot about depression. So what my guidance to the new entrepreneurs in the travel industry is, go for dispassion, not for depression. So I put a theory forward is dispassion versus depression. Now question arises, what is dispassion? Dispassion is work with full energy, but don't be hopeful for the result. Hope is the cause of sorrow. Dispassion means hope is cause of the sorrow, and depression is feeling of hopelessness. So I would tell people that work with dispassion, work with sincerity, and I'm sure you will succeed like nothing. And we travel agents are here to stay. The industry is going to grow 400 million middle class people. Just imagine such a large market standing there wanting to travel. I'm sure, I'm 101% sure, as and when COVID is over or it doesn't get over, it gets started getting relaxed, India will be the #1 market to come forward to travel, because we are not a worried lot. That is very sure.
So you're saying कर्म करेगा फल की इच्छा ना रखे इंसान.
फल की इच्छा रखे पर उसकी तरफ ना देखे. आपको पता है कि आपने अच्छी बात बताई. आपको पता है बंदर को कैसे पकड़ते हैं? बंदर को जब पकड़ना, बॉटल लेते हैं, तो मदारी होता है ना, एक बॉटल लेता है और बॉटल में कुछ केले डाल देता है और वो बॉटल को जमीन में गाड़ देता है. तब जो बंदर आता है तो अंदर हाथ डालता है बॉटल में और वो केले उठाने की कोशिश करता है, और बंदर सारे केले एक साथ उठाने की कोशिश करता है और फिर हाथ फंस जाता है. तो वो सोचता है अंदर से कोई मुझे खींच रहा है, जबकि वो उसके जो होप्स है उसको पकड़ के बैठा है. तो मैं ये कह रहा हूँ, काम करो, उसको एक एक करके केला निकाल लेना चाहिए. सारे केले एक साथ मत निकालो.
Let me hand you back to somebody who was born in 1987. All right, over to you, Karthik.
Thank you, Ashish.
No, it's amazing to hear you, sir, and your anecdotes and the analogies which you have shared, and also the comparison with the the capital market, how the market cap of companies in travel vis-a-vis the other companies is there. I think it's very insightful. We haven't seen these kinds of insights in our last few sessions, so I think it's a very different flavor. Last thought, just building on to the slide you showed and the whole comparison in terms of building a company from the scratch and not chasing valuations. Do you also see a possibility that somebody like Amazon or whatever is happening between Jio and Facebook, that travel would somehow get absorbed as one of the verticals for these large e-commerce organizations rather than standing on its own? Or do you still see that there is a hope for somebody in travel to have that sort of a vision to keep it as a separate travel commerce business in the long run?
See, I have been always talking to my team. Travel is a bit different business. It is, I compare it as to the general practitioners, you know, the general doctors in the country, the small dispensaries. So what happens is the patient goes to the dispensary for small sickness. It's a fever, it's a cough, or it's small disease or sickness, people go to that doctor. Travel is like that. And that doctor is holding your hand. If there is a larger problem, the doctor recommends you to the larger hospital, go to a Lilavati or go to a Hinduja. So similarly, the travel will continue to be the same way. The small agents in the country, the 4-5 lakh agents who are right now surviving on this business will continue to go on, and maybe they will increase because there are small requirements like a bus ticket, a train ticket, a single sector, 2-sector ticket, a small hotel requirement or a car rental required. So that the small agent, like a small MBBS doctor, will keep doing the servicing. And when it comes to a complicated itinerary of 8 coupon, 10 coupon, 12 coupon, cancellation penalties, blah, 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 insurance or visa. So then people like us who are, I would call myself as a hospital, a large hospital, people will come to us, take our services. So this will continue because this is, here we are not dealing with merchandise, we are dealing with the man, human being. That's a big difference. So this industry is, nobody can take over that easily. People may try, they may succeed in a small way, but they can't replace the hand-holding travel agent. That is very sure.
Wow, that's on a positive note. So Ashish, do you have any concluding remarks?
No, Madhav, I see two musicians in the background, and may Blue Star and you continue to make that music.
Thank you, so kind. One is Superb and one is Bhavesh.
All right. Good luck, and I'll catch you soon in Bombay or Pune sometime.
Sure, so kind of you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Madhavji. Thank you everyone for joining in. We'll see you next week. Till then, take care, everyone.
Bye-bye. Take care.